Word. Word, man. Peace to the chat. Y'all y'all know how we do, man. We finna get this thing jumping off, man. I got Corey Mayo with me. Hopefully AP. A few more brothers, James, Flames, are touching this one. They might slide through to help give some work on this Atlantis fire. And I know I've been missing for a while, man. Had to get back to working and spending time with the family and community and making sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to do in my area. So, when I teach what I teach, it ain't coming out in no distorted frequency. You know what I'm saying? It's coming out real and authentic. So I just want to give a shout out to everybody, man, and I appreciate, you know, the first Atlantis build reaching 1,000 views. Y'all know I'm really not a YouTuber. I'm just a real lifer trying to join with other real lifers, and I never would have thought, man, that I would have got a video at 1,000, man. So I really appreciate that, man. And shout out to the fam and all the subscribers, and hopefully we can get some more. Hopefully this information can continue to help people grow and develop and reach their higher selves and keep, connecting with the planet and our true, you know, spiritual allies and real souls that are with us, man. The ones that's gone and that's still here. You know what I'm saying? It's that deep when you really get into a high level of understanding what's really going on. And we just trying to heal our people, man, and change the world. We got the power to do it. So we just try to speak it into existence on this YouTube platform. Of course, hopefully one day we can all get our own, come as united. Shout out to Winnie Porkin, Sapani, Catawba, Sioux, and Aztecs. I see you out there, big bro. Miss you too, man.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? He really want us to unite and bring a conglomerate universal platform so that way we won't interrupt each other's flow. And that's real, man, because I've been catching up with people's videos. Shout out to Wanagi, aka Ghost. You know what I'm saying? Got to catch up with him. Got to catch up with Corey Mayo stuff. I still ain't even watched all of his. I'm still, keeping up with 432 Drop. I still ain't finished all those videos and radio plays that we got. Like I say, I'm a copper dragon myself. So shout out to Drop Nation.
yeah. Drop Nation. Yep.
Yeah, you know. And we just gonna keep it rolling, y'all. Shout out to everybody, man. Everybody that's been putting in the work. This last month or so, it's all love, man. I know it's been some filtering out. You know what I'm saying? Still got to do some filtering. It's still
Yeah.
some bad frequencies and negative energies being directed towards the fam, man. And like I say, I'm gonna say it again. To me, nature has no color when it comes
Yep.
to respect, truth, and really honoring and wanting a progressive life for someone, because it's a lot of our own people that don't want shit for us. So, whoever you are out there, no matter what color or ethnic group, man, if you stand for the progression to the higher self and the true, you know, rise of the inner beings and of our ancestors in the true
Yep.
spirit, man, we all for you. So
Yeah, man. If you with the Most High and like Higher Mark has been teaching us, man, it's not just about the laws. It's about your ruach, your spirit. Your love, And so if you don't know who's the Most High's people by now, then you got to work on that. You got to dodge your own hijack and keep your static somewhere else. We're trying to build and unite, and nobody got no negative or bad intentions in any way. So everybody needs to stop thinking like that first of all, and be respectful to everybody that's learning. Give credit where it's due as well. No man owns any of this information.
right.
It's not copyrighted by anybody. This is just information that we're all putting together. Doesn't matter who said it first, who said it last. Is who's really reaching the people in the right way with it. It's not just about having info and spreading it. You got to really know how to put it out to somebody so they can really understand what you're trying to say, and do it with love and respect. So that's all I want to say about that.
Sure, man. Y'all know how we do, man. Like I say, real lifers, we keep it authentic. We doing this for the real souls, man. And of course, shout out to all the Aboriginals and true people, man. And we finna get it going, you know, finna jump right into it. I'ma I think I'm gonna start out with some of this Conquest of Peru right quick though, because it's got a nice little, it's a couple of lines in here. Cause we've been we got into that book the last live stream, so I'm gonna go back into it and kind of refresh some people on what's really taking place, man, and why we doing what we do. You know what I'm saying? So bear with me while I pull it up right quick, man. Make sure
Yeah.
everything's straight. All right, here we go, right here, man. Get it shared on. And like I say, Corey, man, you already know, man. Whenever you gotta interject, um, go ahead and do that, cause I already know you got some stuff lined up right along with it. So
Yeah, man. So, yeah, I got it already, son.
yeah, so y'all bear with us. Y'all know we like to read. We finna get it in.
So you know how it is in this with this lecture, this channel. We're reading, we're trying to build, solve the so-called mysteries, whatever they want to call them. Is really your story or my story. That's what they really mean. So we're trying to break the code here. We want to really show you something that it's been left out of history, of school books, of even your as an idea. It's like it's straight up has been hidden. Like, so we're talking about who really civilized who, where did it all begin, and where does the information bring you, the research, the science, the anthropology, ethnology, where does it really lead to? And you're gonna see little by little it's leading here closer to home. So
That's right. All right. Here we go, y'all. This right here is, of course, the discovery and conquest of Peru. This is a translation of four.
make sure you're sharing, bro, to everyone.
All right. Let me make sure. Let me make sure. I think it should be on there. It should be. It should be. All right. So let me go. It says this right here is the original population of Peru reached the country. I mean, my bad. It says on the difficulty of understanding how the original population of Peru reached the country. Okay, so it's just giving you a description of what Peru was like, and it's going to even get into Atlantis. So here we go. It says the general doubt concerning the way in which the inhabitants of Peru reached this province in ancient times can seemingly be resolved by a story told somewhat briefly by the divine Plato in his book entitled the Timaeus or De Natura, and afterwards at greater length in another book or dialogue which immediately follows the Timaeus and is called Atlanticus. Here he recounts a story told by the Egyptians in praise of the Athenians to the effect that in the past they had been so powerful as to conquer and destroy certain kings who came over the sea with large armies from a great island called Atlantis, all right, which began at the Pillars of Hercules and was said to be more extensive than the whole of Asia and Africa. Okay, so I know I read that before. If you did
Yep.
read, if you watch some of the, I can't remember if it was part 2 or 3, but I had to read it again just to really put that out there, man. And if you go back, I think in part 3 we actually showed you that this book came out or was established in the 1500s by the author. So yeah, that
Yeah,
right
so
there.
you gotta have a perspective with that. So they're talking about larger than Asia and Libya and Asia and Europe and some other accounts. So we're talking about bigger than these three continents. And you gotta use your senses. What can be bigger than that? It's not no island. It's not just an island that's sunk. So it's all connected to here. Maybe some is underwater right now, but it's not doesn't mean all of it went underwater. All right.
Right. And then it says, this island contained three kingdoms, which Neptune divided among his three sons, the largest and finest going to his eldest, who was called Atlas. All right,
Okay.
so that's part of that.
And that reminds of the story of Noah when they reached he divided the lot with his three sons. So some reference and link this correlation with this mythology, which is just basically Greeks. They're just retelling stories, really.
Right. And we kind of went over that in the Atlantis in America book by Ivar Zapp and George Erickson, which I'm gonna get into also on how really the story of Plato had a lot of the similar stories from the Bible and stuff like that. So it just shows more again, different sources telling you the same thing, making sure y'all is intact with that. Okay, so it says Plato tells many most remarkable details about the customs and riches of this island, in particular about a temple standing in the principal city, the walls of which were covered with plates of gold, silver, and
Yep.
brass.
Okay. Gold, right? So gold. So Marco Polo, right? When he says, because if you really look at the Marco Polo story, you're gonna see that he might have made it all the way over here, and he might be describing a lot of the places over here in America, especially when he's talking about temples that are built with golden walls, golden roofs. You just got to reference that in here in Cusco, we know that the temples did have golden walls and golden roofs. They even found golden sheets which were on a wall in the jungle in Ecuador, and they were bringing it to Father Crespi in Ecuador. So that's a whole different story. But yeah, there's a lot of correlation to that on this side.
That's right. All right. Now he says much else which it would be tedious to repeat, but which can be read at full length in his original works. Many of the customs and ceremonies which he there describes can be seen preserved to this day in the province of Peru. From Atlantis, men sailed to other great islands on its further side and near the continent beyond which lay the true sea. Plato's actual words spoken by Socrates to the Athenians at the beginning of the Timaeus are these: it is considered certain that in times past your city checked a large hostile army which had come from the Atlantic Sea and seized and occupied almost the whole of Europe and Asia.
Yep, all of them.
All right, so if y'all peep that, then it would make sense to know. Okay, well they saying that people over all over the world look like us. Well, you have it there. We've been conquering other lands probably for hell to me millions of years, man. Because with this timing and all this dating stuff, shout out to UB News, man. It's really becoming, more blatant that some of these events are more recent, but some of these events did take place, maybe some thousands, if not, who knows? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
that's something to really think about. And it says, for in those days that strait was navigable.
boom, big.
That's right.
So Plato's saying that in the days that these Atlanteans came over to Europe and Asia, that the Atlantic Ocean was navigable, meaning that in his time, when he was living, it wasn't. They couldn't cross over to America because of what had happened. And this is not just in this account. There's many accounts of how the whole Atlantic was like muddy, and there was things. There's something was there because of what had happened with the island or whatever the rest of the part of Atlantis when it went down. And so he's telling you right here in this account, the most famous of Atlantis from Plato, that it was navigable. So to him, it's not in that current time of him and when
That's
he's
right.
living.
And then it says, having at its mouth and almost at its entrance an island which began close to the Pillars of Hercules and was said to have been larger than Africa and Asia combined. Okay, so once again, he had to put it in there again because, a lot of that, you know, it shouldn't go over nobody's head by now. Like I say, it's been plenty more information dropped from plenty of more people who are Aboriginal and represent the Aboriginal community. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, these are nuclear bombs. That we stating right now, adding on to the flame that already done been set forth to this tragedy that has been in front of our face for the last what 200-300 years exactly. But let's keep it going a little bit. It says from here there was trade and passage to other islands, and from those islands communication with the continental mainland which faced them and was near to the true sea. For that sea can justly be called the true sea, and that land the continental mainland.
Yep, they're talking about the Pacific, the true ocean, because the Mediterranean was just like a river to them in other accounts, right? And so that, yeah, that was the true ocean. Once you cross the continent, you get to the true ocean, right? Or if you cross America, you get to the Pacific.
That's right. All right. It say so far, Plato, although he says a little later that 9,000 years before he wrote, the power of the waters so increased in those seas that in a day and a night the island was submerged, drowning the lands and population, and leaving the sea so full of mud banks and shallow that it was never navigable again.
Hmm.
No one could then travel to the other islands or to the mainland.
So there was a barrier, and whether that was the most high or not, that there was a barrier. They couldn't get
Right.
past. They couldn't come over here. We were isolated for a while until the conquest.
And then it says here, all commentators on Plato accept this history as true. The majority, Marsilio, Ficino, and Plantin in particular, denied that it is an allegory, though some give it an allegorical sense, as gives, Marsilio himself mentions in his notes on the Timaeus. Plato's computation computation of 9,000 years is no argument that it is a fable. It's a for according to Exodus, these were not solar but lunar years, reckoned by the Egyptian calendar. It says the time was therefore 9,000 months or 750 years.
Whoa. And that goes with what we're learning too with the chronology.
Right.
That we know it's false. We know a lot of things happen a lot more recent than they tell us. And a lot of things that they put back BC times actually happened a lot more recent. And UB News again had a video come out, the works of Anatoly Fomenko. If you guys are not familiar, go check it out. He got the whole science behind it, the whole science, the whole proof. A lot of things started after 300 AD. Most things happened after 900 AD
That's right.
in our so-called modern history.
That's right. It's a the time was therefore 9,000 months or 750 years. Moreover, it is almost a proof of this island's existence that all historians and cosmographers, ancient and modern, call the sea which submerged it the Atlantic, thus retaining its name from the time when it was land. Accepting this history as true, no one will deny that the island of Atlantis began from the Straits of Gibraltar, or a little beyond Cadiz, and extended across the great expanse which from north to south and from east to west is larger than Africa and Asia combined. The islands mentioned by Plato as visited by traders are surely Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Jamaica, and others
Yes,
in that
so
region. It says, and the mainland facing them is what we know today as the Tierra Firme or Tierra Firme, and all its provinces, starting from the Magellan Straits, and running north to the land of Peru.
So
Check
yeah,
this. It says the province of Papayan, Castilla de Oro, Veragua, Nicaragua,
Veragua,
Guatemala.
Veragua
New,
is Costa Rica and Panama.
that's right. The New Spain, the seven cities,
The seven cities. Yeah.
Florida and the Clyde Islands, and running up from there to join Norway.
Okay. So that was deep. See, a lot of that's a lot of info in a little paragraph.
Yeah,
So you
that's a
saw what they were saying. Plato is describing the islands of the Caribbean. He's describing South America all the way down to the bottom of South America, where the Strait of Magellan is, up to Peru. There was a colony there of Atlantis as well, and also these colonies he's saying here, naming as well as the seven mythical cities. If you don't know about that, that's the city of Cibola and many others, and this was in North America in Utah, New Mexico area, and we can actually show them the map, right? So
uh,
we were talking about this the other day. So Wanagi knows, he's tuned in, he knows
let's get it.
what we're
You want
about
to
to
show
show.
us real
So
quick?
yeah, real quick, let's just show him. Tell me when I'm on.
Yeah, I got it on you now. I'm gonna go ahead and mute and
Oh,
let you go.
okay.
I
All right.
just
So first of all, so this is from the John Carter Brown Library, the image of the collection of images they have here. Let me zoom in. So all right. So this is. Let me just show you real quick. You can see, right? You can see the screen. All right. So you see these seven circles right here, right on top. You see septem citatis, which means seven cities. I think this is all in like Latin. All right. And then I just want to read the description to you guys. So it says map of the central part of North America. The region shown at the bottom of the map is Nova Granada. So Granada in Spanish means pomegranate. Pomegranate is the actual real the apple or the fruit, the real fruit. When they're talking about apple, that was in the Garden of Eden. So when we're talking about Granada to these Spanish people, they were always naming like these places that were like havens or Edens, Granada. So that's where you get the Granada, the pomegranate. You can see the flower or the top of the pomegranate is the Star of David. So you guys can Google that if you want. So it says map of the central part of North America. The region shown at the bottom of the map is Nova Granada. Tall Regnum describes roughly the area of present-day Utah, right? Utah is Judah, Utah, Judah. Deuteronomy 34. You're going to find that whole verse up in Utah. All the mountains, all the places named in that verse are right there. Just like it's described in a valley, a mountain, or whatever, it's there.
that's
So
right.
Utah, yep, Utah is the legendary ass land where the Mexicans came from, or Mexica, not Mexicans, Mexica. My fault, Mexica, or what you call the Aztecs, right? As you know. So continuing it says that it's present-day Utah, Wyoming, Montana, and continuous parts of Canada. Includes the Native American settlement of Hochelaga and the mythical seven cities of Cibola. The mythical seven cities of Cibola. And if you know the story of Estebanico, the Moor that came with the Spaniards that were going up into these areas first, and in these areas of New Mexico and Texas, they went to all the way to Hawa, I forgot the name, Hawanaku, city that was there, one of the part of the seven cities, and yeah, how they were always looking for these mythical cities of Cibola and what you call it, Calix or Calelus or Calix as well. All right, so you can see that there is references of these places. They're not myth. What we're trying to show you is these places really did exist. And if you start putting all the story together, you'll see it. Like I was just reading this book I just found from the 1500s, written of the Chronicles of in Mexico, how they're talking about the Indians that are living there. And even in this book, it says that these people, the Nahual Tlaca, uh, it says that they came from the north, from a place now called Nuevo Mexico or New Mexico, and that they called it Aslan, and they also
Okay.
called it Teoculhuacan, and I believe Teoculhuacan was in California, I think I read it in another book. So yeah, so I mean, you can link all these things up. It's what we're trying to show you. All right, so go ahead, uh, Jack.
Yeah, man, that's y'all. I don't know if that that should have made it a little more simpler of what was being said because not only South America, is seen as Atlantis, but also here in North America, and this is actually one of the biggest secrets
Yep.
of of the key lands here, right here in North America, man.
Yeah,
That's why,
the mound builders, they were a lot of them were referenced as Atalans. That if you can read that as a tribe, you can go look for it in these anthropological books of North America, and they are a colony of Atlantis. The whole mound complex, Cahokia, all that. That is a colony. That is what the Greeks considered Atlantis as well, a colony of Atlantis.
that's right. And actually, when you really can, decipher that Bible, you'll actually see how, really more what was going on was basically here. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of families are related all the way from North America to South America, and this is what we really getting into. I wish my man James Flame was on because he got
Yeah,
family still in Guatemala
yeah.
right now. You know
So
what I'm saying?
yeah, James can actually all this stuff that I've been learning and reading in all these books and learning, he actually has the same info orally through his ancestry to his what he knows his foundational truth, and we've been able to correlate almost all of the information. And I don't even I haven't even really talked to him, but every time we mention something, we seem to correlate because there's only one foundational truth, right? And it's really deep, but if you really start going into the history and researching, you'll see that it all starts making sense, and it all leads home. It all leads home. That's what we're trying to show you.
That's right, man. And a lot of people, a lot of us here right now, even in the chats, man, we done been through the storms. We done hit rock bottom. We done been stripped of everything that we could possibly have. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us have. I know we wouldn't be vibing on the same frequencies if we haven't. You know what I'm saying? To understand this truth. So give a good round of applause to yourself for standing through the
Yeah,
storm, bringing out the dark secrets that
yeah.
the world kept from us, y'all. This is
You
all our work, man.
you are the collective savior. You are the Israel. The Yasharum. It's not just one person. You are collectively the savior. You are the people. You need to. Everybody's waiting for y'all to get it together, so we can get this thing going and heal the world, heal the planet, heal the plane, heal nature, heal ourselves, heal everything. All
That's
right,
right.
because you come from order. You're not part of this order or static. You come from an order. There was a law. There was an order, a natural order, and the other, whatever's in the powers, that are in charge, they're unnatural. That's why they destroy. They're against order.
Right. That's why a lot of us still, with all the distractions in our face, we still can show likeness to crystals and plants and herbs, and you still got your
Yeah.
favorite tree or your favorite animal and stuff like that. This is the natural, mechanism that you came with, that you born with, that's part of you. So, you know, that's our order, man. Ecology. Shout out to Copper Hot Step.
Yeah, shout out to everybody in the chat and yeah, LJ, master teacher there, she knows. Cibola, see the ball of A, which is Paleo Aleph, man with the bowler hat. Not to get too deep, but the invaders hide our truth in plain sight. She's deep with these words, man. I'm telling you.
Okay.
I'm trying to tell you, man. And she breaks it down really good, really
You know
smooth.
how to
So yeah, shout out to the chat, everybody tuning in. Thanks for being here. You guys are gonna be the master teachers. You've been tuning in since part one. Then man, you've gotten a lot of info. So I mean, we can continue. I actually wanted to get into so not only Plato. I wanted to show. I found this book. It's called Prehistoric Structures of Central America. Who erected them? A lecture by Martin Inham Townsend. It says. All right, so pretty good book. Let's go to this part real quick. So I wanted to show that it wasn't just like Plato. when it talks about Greeks, talking about Atlantis or America, it wasn't just Plato. So let's look into this. It says, let us look for a moment at some of the things which the ancient Greek and Latin authors have said, indicating their knowledge of the existence of a Western continent. Crates, a commentator of Homer, is quoted by authority of Strabo, a very learned author of the century before Christ, as saying that Homer means in his account of the Western Ethiopians. So that's
Mm,
important, right? Western Ethiopians. All right. So, all right. Before I continue, Ethiopian, what does it mean, right? Etymologically. Not we're not talking about a location, a country. We're talking about what does it mean, right? So if you go to
right.
the word, it kind of tells you burnt face or whatever. Eventually, dark skin, right? Or people of dark hue, an Ethiopian. That's why Selassie did his empire because he can claim a race because the Ethiopian, the word itself meant somebody who was dark skinned or lived in the Indies in the tropical zones. Ethiopians. That's why the Greeks are telling you right here in the Western Ethiopians, there was a distinction between the Western and the Eastern. There was in the accounts of Prester John, if you know about it, in the medieval times, there was three Ethiopias. The farthest Ethiopia was America, or as Greeks are saying in here, the Western Ethiopians, the inhabitants of the Atlantis or the Hesperides. All right, so check this out. So he's letting us know that Hesperides, the mythical, is like their Garden of Eden. The Greeks, that was in America. Hesperides, Hispaniola, Hesperides. Trust me, there's a relation there. I'm almost down to pinpointing it. As the unknown world of the West was then variously called. All right, so it says Pliny, also 631 and 36, locates the Western Ethiopians somewhere in the Atlantic. This shows that Crates and Pliny believed that the great poet Homer believed in the existence of a great continent on the western shore of the Atlantic Ocean. And then we go to Plato. Plato says in Timaeus in chapter 6, the Atlantic Ocean was indeed navigable, so it wasn't in his time again, and had an island fronting the mouth, which your tongue called the Pillars of Hercules. And the island's larger than Libya in Asia. All right, so we got that info. So it says number 5, Humboldt, which is he's a famous historian, invited to all the historical societies, prestige ones, very famous. So it says Humboldt quotes that Anaxagoras, who was, hold on, was
Right.
born 500 years BC and was most eminent Greek philosopher, speaks of the grand division of the world beyond the ocean. Aelian in his Varia Historia, Book 3, Chapter 18, cites Theopompus, an eminent Greek historian born about 300 years BC, as stating that the Meropians inhabit a large continent beyond the ocean, in comparison with which the known world was but an island. Because we got that in my last video. It says the very first land out of the water, or the very first land, the old world, is America. We got Agassiz telling us that, the most famous geologist, right? The Maya speak, it came out. What is Turtle Island? What does that mean? What does a turtle shell look like outside of the water, right? So who came out first? So that's what they're saying, that at that time, when America was all fully out, all the way from Nova Scotia to South America, Europe was still islands. So that's what they're saying right here. Aristotle says in chapters 84 and 85, beyond the Pillars of Hercules, they say that an inhabited island was discovered by the Carthaginians, which abounded in forests and navigable rivers, and fruits of all kinds. All right. Who else are they talking about? Distant from the continent, many days sail. And while the Carthaginians were engaged in making voyages to this land, and some had even settled there on account of the fertility of the soil, the Senate decreed that no one thereafter, under penalty of death, should voyage thither. Aristotle was born 384 years before Christ, so they outlawed, they made it illegal for they. They didn't want anybody going over there. Who knows why? But they wanted their claim. Probably they was trying to set up shop and go over there, or maybe they want people knowing the truth.
That's
But
deep.
they made a law about it. You see that? They made a law about it. And this is quotes you can find in all these books. This is quoted from Aristotle. All right, so you go research it. This ain't pseudo. I mean, you want to call it pseudo or whatever. All right, Diodorus of Sicily. who lived in the century preceding the Christian era, says in his book 519 and 20 that it was the Phoenicians instead of the Carthaginians who were cast upon a most fertile island opposite Africa. So the Phoenicians, Canaanites, and everything. I mean, this is the true old world. All these people came out of here first. So yeah, these Phoenicians, especially Carthaginians, because they had Hebrew, they knew the Hebrews, and they are, so they had this history of going back and forth. The Phoenicians, first pirates, and all that, and so it's deep in that part of it. So this continues says where the climate was that of a perpetual spring, and that the land was the proper habitation for gods rather than men. All right, it was the place of gods than regular people. You, they're talking
That's
about
right.
you. All right. He speaks of the continent, however, at length and with great detail, enumerating its fertile valleys. We keep hearing fertile, right? And navigable rivers, its rich and abundant fruits and supply of game, its valuable forests, and its genial climate. All right. Number 9, it says Pliny quotes Statius Sebosus in his volume 2, page 106, Bond, as saying that the two Hesperides are 42 days sail from the coast of Africa. All right, so there's two of them. All right, so that was the end of that chapter. So I just wanted to show, and that's just a couple examples. There's actually, I've read more
Right.
different examples. So I just wanted to show that it's not just Plato. The Greeks knew America was over here. You've heard about the Greeks talking about the Amazonians and the women were, they're just talking about the women warriors over here.
That's
Trust
right.
me.
That's right, man. They even tried to hijack that in Africa, man. Which there are like some tall women over there, but the real Amazonian women are over here, right there in Central America, man. Let's get it.
Yep. In the Caribbean, the whole island of Martinique, Columbus is quoted as saying that they told him that it was a full of an island of women with who had metal plates or copper plates as and they were warriors. They had war gear, bows and arrows, and everything, and it was just women in Martinique.
They see what they did is they hijacked that in different forms and washed it up with different soaps. You know, you can see it hijacked in the Black Panther, and you can
That's right.
also see it slightly hijacked in Wonder Woman, where it was a whole island
Yeah,
that was only in contact with warrior women. So,
yeah. So
I
we
just
have regarding the Olmecs, just want to address like we have Caral Supe, AP, everybody been saying this for a while. Caral Supe, older than the Olmecs actually, and there was other so-called Negro tribes while the Olmecs were here, and even before they arrived in Mexico. The Olmecs actually were in the mounds area before they arrived in Mexico, and before they were in the mounds, they actually migrated there. There's a whole history of their migration, and it didn't come from Africa. But what scholars have been able to migrate the patterns that they came out of Asia actually, and then settled there. You can see that influence in the Olmec, pottery and everything. You can see the whole Asian influence. But yeah, it's deeper than just. It's not just Olmec. I mean, you were here. Many tribes were Negro, not just the Olmecs.
That's right. It's just a part of history that they like to big up because it helps control the little fate timeline that they got schemed on us. But you gotta really be on the frequency to really understand and really, be able to point out what really is key to our people here in America, man. So shout out to AP, man. Good to have you coming in too, bro. You
Yeah,
already know.
blessings, brother. And just to piggyback off what you said, it's up to us to even get into the information a little bit more deeper. You know what I mean? Because people will use that OMAC as African, but we got to look at what the OMAC contributed to, which was a very extensive writing and a mathematical
yep,
science. And you can find all the full versions in America. You only find bits and pieces of it in Africa, and
exactly.
uh, and that can be explained due to a migration, and obviously not bringing all of the science or even implementing the science due to a crisis. Obviously, we fled to the land for a certain reason, so you can find that influence as well. So you just got to look at the origins of where it started, and just follow their cultures and traditions.
That's
Yep.
right. That's right, man. And that's why, I like to bring up ecology, man. If you really want to get down to how life is, or what life where it's substantiated. You can look at ecology, and you can kind of tell, okay, well, look at this climate, look at that climate. Okay, well, what's growing here? Well, what's in that water cycle? What's in that river? What's you know what I'm saying? What's in your area? What type of vegetation, what type of fruit, what type of animals, and everything. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It really explains the history even better on a scientific scale, because you don't have the influence of religious ideologies, or you know uh just one structure. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot you can look at and learn from, just from the water, man. You look at the type of
Right.
fish and all that type of stuff, the algae. You know what I'm saying? All that, the
Right.
good nutrients that is developed in the land shows where the most life is being sustained. Hands down, man.
Absolutely. And just to piggyback off you again, man, because that's like the most, the ecology is the one of the most number one things we should be studying, because it's going to show you a natural formation and a natural migration of people, plant life, and animals, of course. So once you get into the science of ecology, you'll understand how it plays and affect the people of the land, which is what is best suited for you. That's what the ecology is. So once we start understanding that, then we'll understand how important it is to understand the science. Because science was only implemented by observation. We study the surrounding nature, which is the science of ecology, and
That's right.
use that to benefit ourselves, such as medicine, herbs, food, etc., plant life, on and on and on till we get to agriculture and irrigation. That all
Yep.
it breaks off in branches of ecology. And ecology will show how we are some of the oldest people, if not the oldest people on the planet, hands
Yep.
That's
down.
right. Because if you can learn how to, if you can learn how to tell what this herb or this fruit can cure. I mean, think how much experience, or how many experiences you gotta have to really pinpoint. Okay, this herb didn't do this, and this herb do that, or this fruit is good for this, and this fruit is good for that. You got to been here for, man. You
Exactly.
ask me, millions of years, man. Ain't no way you finna find out pretty much all the vegetations to know whether they poisonous or whatever, and be able
Yeah.
to prescribe somebody
And the
without no
movement of the
goddamn X-ray.
stars. How you read on part one of this series about how they were navigating the world, and how the stone fears in Costa Rica. I mean, that
Right,
takes thousands of years as well to observe the skies,
Right,
and locate each part of the world. Where all these meridian and ley lines are and all that. So
right.
they had it down.
And it's also argued that the Olmecs, or some of the people, the helpers of the science of charting and mapping some of the geographical locations, such as equator and hemisphere locations throughout the world, is pretty much dedicated to the Olmecs.
Yeah.
Went
Yeah.
around the world. That's why you find them. People connections with them all over the place.
So
Uh,
Olmec, right? Old Mexican, right? There's
right,
really they didn't call themselves Olmec, right? But that's what the scientists. So the old Mexicans are talking about, right? Olmecs, New Mex, yeah. So yeah, I mean, definitely there's a lot of history, like when it comes to civilization. I mean, like when we talk about the Fertile Crescent. I've been doing a lot of studying, and you can find little bits of evidence, but it doesn't go as far back as the evidence that exists in America. We're talking about fossilized corn with 5, 6,000, 7,000 years old. They even a guy who did an article. He basically proved that the flood happened over here. He found all the proof in North America about the flood, and he got in the newspaper, his local newspaper, and everything. He sent me all the evidence, all the pictures. He found a corn print on a 25,000-year-old deposit. It's
Mm.
that thing is dated to 25,000 years old. So how the hell does it have a corn imprint on it? A sweet, And so, we're talking about, they told us growing up that civilization started with writing and all that, but you know, any scholar will tell you right now, really, it begins with agriculture. When you settle down, you start building you start settling down, you have time to, go ahead and do all the other things like
Right.
math and science and observation. So,
Agriculture, math, and
yeah,
trade also.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we can, by minimum, we can date the science of turning genetically teosinte, right, the plant that corn comes from, to corn that we see, to the many varieties that they had, the Native American natives. That science we can date it at least to 10,000 years ago. None of the whole, so-called old world cultures of the other side go close to that over there, close to that. So
Right.
what are you talking about? I mean, but they didn't build, but they didn't have, so, they didn't have pyramid. What are you talking about, man? These Caral Supe is the
Right.
oldest that
Right.
we found, that they have accepted. They're probably older ones that they're dating given other dates.
Yeah, they
So
haven't even started dating El Mirador yet. But even if we was to take, while we on the ecology and cultivating, we can talk about the marijuana plant, which is one of the oldest cultivated plants in the world. I think it goes back about 40
Facts.
to 50,000 years, and that's in America. So for something to be cultivated, it had to be cured, science, nurtured. There was a science behind it, and it
yeah.
was used and implemented for a variety of different things. So we just showing you how long we've been on it, whether it was documented and it's been released or not.
Oh,
Right.
definitely was. The Voynich manuscript, the one they can't read. That was, that's, they give credit to Prester John. So, it's all in there, all the plants, all the medicinal stuff. If you guys know about that.
That's right, man. And like you were just saying, hitting on Corral Supe and being the oldest. Let me read this right quick, and I'm gonna let you go back in on the Central America, the prehistoric deal. And I done read this before, but this just a good reminder, man. You know what I'm saying? While we here at this point right now, he just gonna break it down. It says right here, it says Voyages to the New World. Nigel Davies correctly points out a flaw in Thor Heyerdahl's theory. Heyerdahl questioned how it would be possible for New World cultures to have arisen so rapidly unless they were imported from another continent. Davies points out that for a time it was thought the vast cavern site in the Andes, whose cut stones are almost identical to those of the great Egyptian pyramids, had appeared suddenly. But later information has proved that cavern culture developed over many millennia, not by a sudden introduction. Michael Mosley
Yep.
has shown that the growth of cavern was a long drawn out process. Dates of elaborate construction in the ceremonial areas in Peru now predate accepted dates for Egyptian constructions. Mummies similar to those found in Egypt dating to 5,000 years ago are now being dated as at least 8,000 years old in Peru.
Yeah, actually, Chinchorro mummies in Chile and Peru actually were dated, one of them to 9,000 years ago, and that's over like 3 or 4 thousand years older than the Egyptian one. And then I got a reply from somebody in Africa, some other part. There is some older mummies in another part of Africa, but they only go back 5,000 years.
Right.
The ones in Peru are still older. And I'm glad
And
he did that. He was trying to prove something, and actually, I'm glad he did the research for me, so I didn't have to do it. So yeah, we still killing them by
yeah,
thousands of years.
that's right, man. And then it
So
says,
okay, we got buildings and pyramids. Keep going.
and that's why I'm gonna end it with this. It say, in fact, it is in Egypt, Mesopotamia, and China that great civilizations seem to spring suddenly into view. So that explains why the timeline is the way it is because they are putting that whole other side and trying to write it over our shit as if that stuff is older than ours. But we got anthropologists and archaeologists who are doing the studies, like books like this, showing you that over here is the oldest. I just had to throw that back out there, man, for a reminder of the people, man, because we've been still having people who still don't believe that, they don't believe us, man. They think that Africa is really the oldest, and it's just not. You just got to accept the fact. So I'm gonna let you get back in, bro, and do your thing on uh the
Prehistoric.
prehistoric. Yeah,
All right. Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I haven't really read this, but let's go. I mean, we're all reading it together for the first time.
let's get it.
All right, so it's on me.
Yeah, it's on you.
Okay, so it says chapter seven, or yeah, chapter. The Phoenician people were equal to the discoveries of on the Western continent if we judge them by what they actually accomplished. So it says the prophet Isaiah. All right, so that's deep that it starts with that because I think I know he's gonna go with it. But yeah, even Columbus is quoted as using Isaiah's verse as saying that he was talking about America. So that's why he said his whole trip was based on his faith, and his prophecy. He felt like he was the chosen one because he knew America was over there. He knew it was the promised land and everything. He quoted Isaiah a lot, and the reference when Isaiah is talking about the eagle. All right, so it says the prophet Isaiah, writing soon after 750 years before Christ, in the 23rd chapter of his prophecy, gives us a pretty good idea of the unlimited commerce and the unlimited prosperity of the merchants of Tyre. Among other things, he says the following, speaking of the city, whose antiquity is of ancient days. He calls the city the crowning city, whose merchants are princes, whose traffickers are the honorable of the earth. The wealth and luxury of Tyre was eternally injurious to the Jewish people from the time of their return from Egypt to Canaan to the carrying away of Israel to Babylon in the latter days. The Jewish husbandman, dazzled by the luxuries of Tyre and Sidon, was affected as those in the more moderate circumstances are in later days by the manners and customs of their rich neighbors, and were building groves in high places under which to worship, as did the priests of Baal in Palestine, and under the
Mm.
oaks in the northwest of Europe, where they acquired the name Druids. They forsook the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and worshipped Baal and Ashtaroth and Astarte. And James knows about this. That's Easter Astarte, and that is also found in all these Maya and Quiche people's mythology as well, in different names. And it says the Venetian Venus is Astarte. So it says they even sacrificed their children to Moloch, the relentless fire god, as Baal appeared in his sterner characteristics. But upon the laws of wealth which Phoenicia sustained in the wars with Nebuchadnezzar and subsequently with Alexander, the Phoenicians ceased to be conspicuously wealthy and luxurious, and Israel was left to worship that God who. All right, so let's see where this is taking us. Called their father Abraham from Upper Chaldea, and who afterwards brought him out of the house of bondage in Egypt after having been 400 years enslaved there. We have now glanced at the widespread influence of the Phoenician people over the borders of the Mediterranean Sea and over the west and northwest of Europe. Let it be remembered that what we have said upon this subject is founded upon authentic evidence from ancient history and modern fact. Let us look for a moment now and see what these peoples accomplished through the waters of the Red Sea and upon the waters easternly of the Strait of Bab el Mandeb. So when we talk about Red Sea, if you've been following UB News, YouTube, there's a lot of ancient maps, showing the Red Sea in the Gulf of California. They're showing
Right.
also California like an island, right? So I don't know if at some point it was separated and that ocean went all the way up to the Great Salt Lakes. That's why it's a Salt Lake. It was an ocean. All that was covered with ocean. So you know, that's how you got to think when we talking about these places. You got to have this perspective. Is what I'm trying to say. Like you got to always think about it. put it, picture it somewhere over here, and do
That's
the
right.
research, and you'll start finding it. So it says after Solomon had associated with Hiram, king of Tyre, and Hiram, the son of Abif, the chief of the mechanics, who built the temple and became acquainted with the wealth brought home by Phoenician ships from the great outside world. So that the Phoenicians were coming from here, bringing all the wealth to everybody in the world. And what else did they introduce to the world, which is very important? They call it letters, right? Letters, Phoenician writing,
That's right.
or the phonics, right? The sounds. So his spirit of Jewish strife was excited, and he determined to share in the profits of nautical adventures. In the first book of Kings, chapter 9, verse 26, 27, 28, we find the following. And King Solomon made a navy of ships in Ezion Geber, which is beside Eloth, on the shore of the Red Sea, in the land of Edom. And Hiram sent in the navy his servants, shipmen who had knowledge of the sea, with the servants of Solomon. And says, and they came to Ophir, and fetched from thence gold 420 talents, and brought it to King Solomon. In the 18th chapter of this book, 11th and 12th verses, we find the following. And the navy also of Hiram that brought gold from Ophir, brought it in from Ophir, great and plenty. And what they're trying to get to right now is that Ophir was really over here. And
That's right.
Even Columbus, I'm telling you, I've been reading his accounts and his letters, everything. He was naming Hispaniola Ophir. He wrote to the queen saying, I found Ophir for you. I not only got slaves and all this and all that, but I got Ophir where Solomon was coming to get the gold. I got plenty of gold for you. Okay,
That's
so it
right.
says, of almond trees and precious stones, and the king made of the almug trees pillars for the house of the Lord and for the king's house. Harps also, psalteries for the singers. There came no such almug trees, nor were seen unto this day. In the second of Chronicles, chapter 9. All right, so I guess it keeps quoting verses here. All right, so hold on. I told you I haven't read this book.
That's right, man. And we just really trying to give y'all the insight on that Bible, man, because we know we still got some good Christian folks that still just know that it's something about that book that they need to hold on to, and we just trying to give it to you to let you know that you standing on the land that they was talking about instead of giving you a fake ass map in the back of the book to make it seem like that's that's where everybody came from when it was only one section of people or one type of people or maybe two. You know what I'm saying? If you want to consider, the story of the Bible with Ham and Japheth or whatever, and this is
Let,
supposed to be the plan of Shem. So
okay, so what I wanted to do is actually get to the end of this book real quick, just so I can show what it says, what they determine after all the info, so everybody can follow up. Go check out the book. But check this out. I guess keep talking while I find it.
oh, you need word, man.
All right, here we go. All right, here we go. Hold on, let me just it says, we make no doubt that the Incas of Peru were brought to that country by the ships of the same Phoenician people. But the Incas were very few in number and came to Peru with mechanical knowledge and the knowledge of pottery far in advance of that possessed by the settlers in Central America. And their works initiated for the purpose of improving water courses and constructing roads were far more beneficial to mankind than the temples erected to Baal in Central America. So there was temples erected to Baal. Remember earlier we were talking about Baal. They were really, he was just talking about Central America, and I can correlate this. I'm going to show this on my videos. Even Humboldt, a lot of historians talk about the pyramid of Cholula, the pyramid of Cholula in Mexico. That's the temple of Baal. That is an exact replica of the description of Herodotus and Diodorus of the temple of Belus, Jupiter, which is Baal. And it has the biggest base of any pyramid in the world. Cholula, bigger, way bigger than, by mass, is way bigger than the ones in Egypt. Not saying tallest, because that's in Mirador, and AP knows that. But we're talking about mass is the most, the biggest pyramid in the world right now. It's like a mountain right now. There's a church on top of it and everything. All right, so continuing, it says, where were we? Uh, the worship of Baal in Central America. Although the Incas, though more intelligent than the settlers in Central America, were not yet emancipated from belief in that heathen god. Manco Capac, the first Inca, may have been left, for aught we know, by Solomon's fleet from Ezion Geber. We just read that, right? By Solomon's fleet in Ezion Geber, which was off the Red Sea, which we're saying the Gulf of California is shown in a lot of the maps, in the old maps of America. We're talking about somebody parting the sea and went in the Red Sea. That was Moses, and we got the story of somebody parting the sea in the Quiche records and the annals of the Caciques. How he went with a staff and he parted the sea. Go read that. That's part of their history. All right, so we're talking about the same area. All right, we know there's a Joshua tree and Meshach and Moses, and we know that they found the Ten Commandments and the Los Luna stones in New Mexico. And we know Aslan. I told you they were coming from Aslan, Utah, so it does fit the route. So you got to think in that way. It's all right here. So continuing, it says, when in search of rosewood, mahogany, and gold, and may have been one of those skilled mechanics that built Solomon's temple and constructed the basins for it, and thus have become enlightened in religious matters, although he had not yet advanced so far as to entirely abandon the worship of Baal. Says we are not unaware that Peruvian tradition introduces Capac into Peru at a much later period, but no confidence can be placed in dates suggested by a people utterly unacquainted with letters or figures, and we make no suggestion as to the exact time when the first Inca showed himself in Peru. It may be asked what we are to say in regard to the storied Atlantis, and especially what shall we say to the fancies of Ignatius Donnelly. That's the one of the most famous authors regarding Atlantis, the antediluvian world is called the book he wrote. We've read it and we've shown it before. It says who has written such a beautiful romance in regards to that island supposed by him to have existed and have been the actual birthplace of man. Okay, the actual birthplace of man. Talking
Okay.
about America. We're talking about America. Our reply is that Central America was the only true Atlantis, and that Atlantis sunk in the ocean only when its discoverers became weakened in the face of the barbarous people who surrounded them and lost their supremacy in the commercial world among the nations. Beyond what was true of Central America, Atlantis was a dream of fancy at an age of the world when fancy supplied the place of facts to an uninstructed people, and we're still kind of living in that fancy mentality.
That's right.
All right.
That's fire, man. That's shit, man. That's why I say, man, it's really a cakewalk from here on out. It's just making sure everybody vibing with us and can really, stay intact, and hopefully we can get you to do more insight on your family, and stand up for your family. I'm not trying to get nobody to go out here and take on the world and stand alone. Nah, we need to do this with as much unity as possible. So don't put nobody down that don't know, and don't dismiss nobody that don't know, because you might be
Hey,
the person for them to know. You know what I'm saying? So take your time with people, because we really kind of ahead, of well, we is ahead of the mass information that's being put out. So we really just be mindful of people, man. We don't want nobody out here getting too ahead of yourself, to where you done cut all your ties off from your money and all this and that, man. Because trust me, let us, I done been through that. You know what I'm saying? Let everybody who done been through that go through that for you, and just sit back and just try to take the pie while you can, and just try to make it easier for everybody, like we doing, man. Because it's a lot to still cover, but it's really not. If you really vibing with us, and if you really, done watch a lot of the old videos, especially from like Corey Mayo, you know what I'm saying? You can go to A1, Aboriginal Power, of course, 432 Nation, Drop Nation, Hiram Art, you know what I'm saying? Check out Wanagi Ghost, Winnie Porkin, Copper Hot Step. I'm talking about, man, everybody, man. You know what I'm saying? Tribe Up. It's just so many people, man. It's hard for me to mention everybody. It's a Phoenix Moon. Everybody who really putting in the work, man, is really needed. And don't give up everything while you going through this, but it does take some sacrifice, and a lot of us, we have faced some of our demons, and so we can humble ourselves to really learn something new and to keep growing with it. So let's just stay intact with each other. Don't be distracted by no haters or people who really trying to sabotage your well-being. Because at the end of the day, you know, if you really for this, then you really for this. But if you're not, you ain't in the world that we in anyway. So you really don't matter. You know what I'm saying? To me, if you're not for higher self or higher progression of other people and yourself, then the hell with you anyway. You know what I'm saying? I'm just keeping it real. I don't have no feelings for nobody who don't give a fuck about anything. You know what I'm saying? You gotta stand for something, and it should be the betterment of yourself and other people. So I'm not trying to tell nobody what to do, man. But we ain't gonna hold y'all up too long, man. We might come
Yeah,
back in later on.
I actually
You know what I'm
gotta, I gotta actually, sign came up. When you got kids, I gotta take my daughter to gymnastics so she can be a beast
saying?
later
Yeah,
on. So
that's what's up, man. I
I got
gotta I gotta
I
get
got to
ready to
drop.
pick up.
So I just want to say, Shalom, much blessings to everybody tuning in. Thanks for tuning in, and yeah, keep tuning into these lives that Jaguar does. With Atlantis built, we got so much information to put together. So many different books and stuff and correlation. Even oral history, because we're gonna have James up in here, and
That's
Anu's gonna come on in here too, and with his knowledge
right.
of it, and we're gonna build deep. It's gonna get deep. It's gonna get really deep. So keep tuning in. Yeah, and thanks for being here. Tuning in. Shout out to Drop Nation always. Much love to Drop Nation, Tribe Up, Tribe Vibes. And much love to the haters, the static. They can't penetrate. You can't penetrate this frequency. It's unity on a different level. It's love. It's real love. It's 432. That's what that means. It's not about a channel or one person. It's been on going on since creation. That's the thing that people don't seem to understand. But yeah, that's what we're tuned into now with the Most High. So that's what you got to stay choosing up. All right. So be blessed. Hawa.
That's right, people. So keep it fresh, keep it clean. And right now, you got an old lady, embrace her, make her feel good, give her that affection, give her that time, because right now the feminine energy is real high, and you want yours to be on that frequency. You know what I'm saying? That's part of your currency. It's gonna help you water. You know what I'm saying? So hey, embrace your lady now, fellas. Let's have a good time. All right. Hey, we probably be back, man. Hopefully we can get it back going soon, maybe tomorrow or sometime on the weekend. So bear with us, y'all, and strength and progression to the chat. Shout out to everybody that came through, man. I love y'all, and let's keep it going, man. I know I've been missing, so I'm back though. I ain't never left. Just sit back watching. Y'all know how we do. So we out of here, y'all. Peace.